All right, guys, welcome back. Monday morning, let's get right into the stock charts. I'm going to show you guys what I'm seeing, show you guys the technical analysis, and hopefully you're able to just kind of follow along, read the charts. And the point of this video is to really give you the goal, or give you at least give you a high level idea of levels to watch, so that when you see things start to react around these levels, you can take action in your own trades and positions. But before I get started, I'm going to give you guys just a couple seconds. Hit that thumbs up button. It's right down below. Super easy to do. It helps my channel. I'll help you guys. You help me. I appreciate it. Let's get going. So, triple Qs here. Now, here's what we got. We've got triple Qs kind of coming in to backfill this gap. There's a gap right here on the hourly chart. The gap sits at 285.80 roughly. So, and we haven't tagged it yet. Each time we got down to it so far, these last, we got down to it right here, and then again right there. And the buyers are stepping in a little bit early. It hasn't filled the gap. I suspect it's probably going to fill the gap at some point. Maybe that comes in the form of a gap down. But I think we're going to fill this gap. That doesn't mean that we're going to go much lower, though, so we do need to watch that. There is a potential slight uptrend line kind of coming right about there, which is really where we're at right about now. Again, this trend line that I just drew is not a confirmed, validated trend line because there's only 2 data points, 1, 2. You need at least 3 to confirm a trend line. So this is just a potential trend line, nothing that I would trade against right now. But if it starts to validate, then we can watch that in the future. So we'll take that down for now. Again, gap fill. Now, if we gap fill and we bounce right here and find some buyers, look for this thing to continue to work its way up. I'm not exactly confident which way it's going to go, to be honest. I think down is really where I feel, but the reality is that we're in the area now where it could go either way. It could go up or down. So I'm waiting for some more levels to break. And what I'm watching, let me show you guys what I'm watching specifically. Apple. I'm watching Apple. So Apple's coming right down into some support right here at about 118.55. And there's a gap a little bit below right there at 117. So, Apple is a key stock to really watch. We might get a quick little dip to backfill the gap and then hold and bounce higher. But if Apple breaks and it starts actually breaking this 117 area, then I would expect Apple to come down to 113. Now, the thing to watch is this area right up here. This was the area that they were really ramping, especially right up in here is the ramp that Apple did after they split, when they did the stock split. And, typically you don't want to buy stock splits for the most part. You can buy on the news, but buying after a stock split, you're essentially getting, and especially if it moves higher into a stock split, if you buy after a stock split, you're essentially getting the same stock, the same company for more expensive. And so it's just financial manipulation, basically. They do that to try to make a price look lower, and people think, oh, now it's cheap. It's only $20 or whatever when it was $100 before. But there's more shares. You dilute the shares, so ultimately you get the same. You're not getting any freebies on that one. So that's your stock split area, and we are bouncing. We did bounce right up into it and reject right there. So if Apple wants to continue to break down, that might be the near-term high in Apple. Something also to watch here on the daily chart. You can see we did mark out this trend line that you can see. It's kind of this fanning trend line where we hit the low right there, had a few reactions here, and then we came in for a full back test. So that trend line's got some data points around it now that it's a valid trend line. So we did back test, and it is failing. Look for some sort of impulsive breakdown in Apple. If that happens, then we might be near the high end or the top end of the range in this triple Qs bounce. And Amazon's giving us some interesting price action. We had a big sell-off into the close on Friday in Amazon. Today they popped it up, but it's sold ever since. You can see today they basically have sold Amazon down. And so that's looking weak. And possible uptrend line right here. It's the same deal where we only have 2 data points, 1, 2. And, we'll see how it reacts around this level. If it breaks down, look for Amazon to hold some support. It really should hold around this 3,225.50. You can see we have a couple reactions right there. Right there, 3,225.50. We hit that today. We came right down to it and held so far. So a breakdown from there, I think puts Amazon down in this area around 3,000, 3,100 or right around there. There's no negative divergences or anything in Microsoft or Amazon. So just, momentum moving down, prices moving down. But these are all in air, we're within the tolerances where we could hold support and move higher from here. So it's not anything, I'm not seeing just blaring signs saying this is a great short or anything like that. So I just want to point that out. I'm looking for signs, continued information to tell me what's going on. As of right now, I'm not, I'm a little unsure. So we'll have to continue to look for that information. IWM here is clean negative divergence here on the hourly chart. You can see here we've been moving lower in momentum on the RSI and the PPO. And we haven't made a new higher high though. A spike higher, just a little brief spike higher would be a divergent high price. So if we just spike a little bit higher, really above this 164.20 area, that's a divergent high, and that is a high probability area where, this thing will roll over. Gold here did another back test or another test of the resistance line. Gold continues to be in a downtrend, so you can see that if I zoom it out here on the hourly chart, you can see we've just been working our way lower, tagging the trend line right there, did another tag right there, and continuing lower. So bigger picture on gold, we're making lower highs and lower lows. You can see lower, 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 lower. It just continues to downtrend. And so I'm looking for a drop down. I've got this trend line down here, but I think right around 1790. I'll just continue to reiterate that. Could be a little higher. I mean, we could only hit like 1840 or something like that, but I really do think 1790 is in the cards. The dollar's obviously doing... Well, the dollar is kind of moving down, consolidating a little bit, and gold's, slightly up today. But again, gold's ran right into resistance and got rejected again. So I suspect the dollar will catch a little bit of a bid. In general, it's just pretty choppy. Gold's moving down slightly and just chopping around, and the dollar's moving higher slightly, chopping around. Redfin here, nice sell-off. We forecasted this one in the last couple videos, saying to looked like a great short right up in here. And the reason why, you had clean negative divergence that was building. If I get rid of this trend line here, sorry, trying to grab this line right there. Negative divergence right there, and prices were moving higher. That's what created the divergence. Momentum was diverging from price, and then we broke trend support right here, a little bit of a backtest action, and then it completely collapsed. So Redfin from that breakdown was down about 13%. It looks like it's doing looks like it's having a kickback rally right to resistance, which I've got marked as this candle right here. This opening candle was right at support. That should be resistance now. And I think from here, we continue to roll over down towards 46.50. Tesla here, we're starting to get, some a breakdown basically. It's slow, and that's usually how it happens. Usually breakdowns, when you've had such a strong uptrend, they start slow and they build momentum. And then once momentum is just full steam ahead, typically I start looking for exits. But usually the momentum starts slow as people start to catch on, and then it will build. That's what we're seeing here in Tesla. You've got this uptrend line right here. You can see we've just been kind of Here's a reaction right there, another reaction right there. We finally broke. Here's your breakdown of the trend line. A little bit of choppy action, but now we're starting to see kind of this drift sideways. And that is looking good so far. So what I'm looking for is, moves, we're looking for the impulsive breakdown and ultimately to really start this trend to the downside. This is a swing trade that I think is going to play out over time. It's going to take a while to start to play out. Once the momentum really starts to build, you'll see the big drops. But I am looking for us to head down towards 250, possibly 225, somewhere right in there. I think that's the short-term target. Obviously, the longer-term target. There will be support levels along the way. And possibly this 359, we might find some support. There's going to be some levels along the way, but we've got some gaps down here I think that need to be filled. Netflix, I didn't catch this one, but you can see we've actually got some negative divergence on Netflix here on the daily chart. And anytime you have negative divergence on the daily, it usually sets us up for bigger moves. There's your momentum moving down, and you can see right here on Friday we made a slightly, or actually sorry, that was back on the October 14th, slightly higher high intra-market right there. It just barely moved above and basically an equal high, but right in the area while momentum continued to fade. If you look at the hourly here, same thing where we've got negative divergence right there where price was moving price was moving higher and momentum kept fading. So this little pop right here was a divergent high, and that's usually the areas where stocks where they're sold into basically. So far it's continuing to move lower. PHM, Pulte Group, still continues to look good. You can see here on the daily chart, big negative divergence that's been building for a while, continuing to make lower highs and lower lows in the momentum, and price continued to diverge and make higher highs. So that just tells you these higher highs were made on less and less momentum, less and less enthusiasm basically and participation. So that is something to look for. It still looks good there on the daily. If I go to the hourly here, you can see it's starting to fade. Each one of these, we basically had a breakdown. If I go back, here's the trend line that I have marked out, really going back to April. We lots of reactions along this trend line. We then broke, and we did a series of back tests, really three solid ones that I can see. So there's one right there. Back test again right there, and then back test again right there. We're now pretty far away. We're starting to really drift away from the trend line. And you can see here that we also put in a lower high right here on this peak right here. It was a lower high than the previous high right there. And we're now starting to kind of break down. So looking for, there's a gap that we're coming in to fill right there at 47.25. Probably get a little bit of a reaction there, maybe a slight bounce, and then looking for this to continue lower. The target for this one on the swing trade that I have is right around 39.50. Of course, I always step in a little bit early and cover, but that is the trade. And from where we're at now, that is a drop of about 17%. So that is looking good. Everything looks good, and it continues to work until I see technical posture, until I see something change technically on the daily and the hourly charts. Then it continues to work. It will go sideways some days, we'll have little up days, but as long as the technical posture is still intact, then this thing continues to work. Same with Carvana here. You can see here on the daily, big negative divergence. Prices continue to make higher highs, just marginal highs. We've broken trendline support. We've done some back tests, and now we're just in the sideways drift. This is the battleground where people don't believe that the momentum's dead, even though the indicators tell me that it is, or that it's dying at least. So looking for this to gap fill down at 174, and that's really the first move. That's a drop of about 20%. So I think that's really the short, what's in the cards for the short term, and then possibly all the way down to this 115. But for now, gap fill is high probability. Etsy here, clean negative divergence. You can see the price and the momentum continued to make lower highs, lower peaks. We're kind of downtrending on momentum, while price kept making higher highs, so divergent highs. So then you look for trend line breaks. Here's your trend line on the daily chart that I have on Etsy. Lots of reactions. We broke right back here, and then it did this swooping back test where it came in with a lot of momentum and ran. Because it had such a lot, high momentum, it was just going straight up. It overshot it just a little bit, but it's back below the trend. You can see here. If we go to the hourly, we continue to kind of chop around below the trend line, getting rejected at resistance. So we can continue to do some back testing for a while, but ultimately we're below support. So this thing is a sell the rip stock at this point. As it rips into resistance, people sell into it. So I think that we continue to go lower, looking for 139.33 for the first level of support. And that is a move from where we're at. That's not too far down, but 6.5%. So looking for that, and then I can, on the daily here, that's the only one I got marked out for right now. Obviously, I think there's some more levels, so I will have to tighten it up and see where we've got some more support. W still looks good, negative divergence. We made an equal high on the RSI, but price made a higher high. So price was moving up while momentum was kind of remaining flat. So this, the RSI is not the best. I like to see the momentum fading and not kind of, going sideways. And price is now kind of sideways, but the PPO is clear negative divergence. So we've broken. Here's your support line that I've had. We did a series of back test 1, 2. We're kind of going sideways. We could come up for a full back test, another full back test, maybe put in another divergent high. I'm not short this one. I didn't catch it at the right entry, but still looks good. It just might take some time. To the downside is what I'm thinking. SQ has a really good negative divergence. Here's the negative divergence right there in the RSI, while price continued to make an uptrend. Nice clean trend line right here, going all the way back on the daily chart to March. This was your uptrend. We broke trend right here, and then we're doing this back, kind of coming in for a back test. But we should struggle, because this is a divergent high right where we're at. So people should be selling into this. And they are, because the momentum is, making less of a peak. So I'd suspect we're going to roll over somewhere right around here. Here's the hourly. And you can see that we are, even on the hourly in the short term, we're making negative divergence there, where we keep see these spikes. They keep popping it, where they spike it up and it sells off. They spike it up and it sells off. Spike it up and it sells off. See the 3 right there, where they, it pops or it opens and then spikes up and sells off. They're selling the rip. As it pops up, it's being sold into. Kind of again today. So I'd expect this to roll over. And these spikes, shake out people that are hesitant. And we'll wrap up with Peloton. So this one, I just started to nibble short on this one. A lot of my trade ideas right now are short, at least in this video. The longs that I have are XOM and Philip Morris PM. Go back and watch a couple other videos. Those still look good for longs as of right now. They're just starting to build some support. But these are all short ideas. And the Peloton, here's the thing about Peloton. One, we don't have negative divergence on the daily. We do have it, but it's just not, again, there's your equal high in the, kind of this equal high on divergence. Now, price made a higher high, so yes, it is diverging. But this could be burned through pretty easily. However, here we do have this short-term trend line that was broken, and we do have negative divergence on the hourly chart. You can see right there where we made lower highs, and price kept making higher highs. So that sets this up for at least a short-term short trade, where you have negative divergence on the hourly. You have this trend line right here. The trend was broken, and looks like we're coming in for a back test today. Tagging resistance. They should sell into it right here. and we should start to roll over or chop sideways for a little bit, but I do think we're going to roll over ultimately and head down to this 105, probably 105.50, depending on when we actually get there. And that is the trend line that is, more the major uptrend line on the daily chart. So a pullback down to there is kind of what I see happening. And from where we're at now, that's a drop of, possibly 20%, right around 20%. So that's the trade on this one that I like. I think that's going to play out. That's all I got, guys. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't hit that thumbs up yet, hit that thumbs up, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.